it was really just a conversation I had with my doctor one day. I was just livid, and I was like, look, you got to figure out what's wrong with me. This is old. This is just, I'm tired of coming here and not knowing. I'm tired of blood tests. I'm tired of doctors. I just want to know. And whatever it was, I don't know, I think myeloma affects your vision. There's certain things that it affects. And even though I'm not supposed to have symptoms yet, I was having symptoms.
Wow.
And so I don't know if that's what it was, if it was a combination of what I was explaining to him, but it was my doctor that actually did the blood test. And I got a letter back on a Friday, and the only downside is that my medical center actually sends you your blood work. So my doctor wrote a note saying, you need to come in and we need to discuss this positive result. So, me being who I am, and I think doctors forget we live in the internet age, I went online and looked it up. And, of course, when I looked it up, I was by myself, and it just was the most dramatic thing.
Oh, I can imagine.
Even though I thought I was sick and I thought something was wrong, it's so different when you actually have cancer. I have to tell you, it is such I cried for 3 days, and after the 3 days, I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here worrying about dying. I got to figure out how I'm going to live. And I just, so
wow.
How it changed me is that I already knew a lot about eating healthy and had done so. And actually, when I was sick and they couldn't figure out what's wrong, I said, these people are going to let me die. And I actually went on a raw food diet for 3 months and was able to make some of the symptoms go away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I kind of had started putting matters in my own hands. I was, so with that said, I just kind of went back to being predominantly raw, and I've been able to keep my numbers under control. And then I got a alkaline water filter, which I think has also helped significantly, because now I'm not as good as I should be, but I drink 3 liters of alkaline water every day.
Wow.
So, because cancer cannot live in an alkaline system. So
interesting.
I'm able to keep my numbers down. So that how I've changed is, I will go to the doctor. I make sure I keep up with what I have to keep up with, but I try to be responsible in my own way and take care of the things that I can take care of.
So I'm just curious, and it's up to you what amount you would want to discuss, but I'm thinking of other people out there too that might not know as much about certain rarer forms of cancer. When you spoke of the symptoms that you were experiencing, but yet the doctors not being able to give you any definitive answers, were there any particular symptoms that you thought made it more elusive? Because I know you mentioned vision problems.
I had dizzy spells, but mainly I was severely anemic, and my white blood count had gone up. So
Okay.
Because it makes you have a lot of infections. Like, my body is fighting itself constantly. So something that right now, one of the things that did happen that really, I was a vegetarian for 20 years, and all of a sudden, I can't have soy or nuts, and I've eaten that my whole life. So
yeah.
it's things like that. Like, it's so many things that I've done my whole life, and now all of a sudden, I have a problem with. And that's kind of what, for me, it was just my body was reacting completely different.
Wow.
So I'm always dealing with, everything is an adventure for me, because I never know if something's going to upset me or not, if I'm going to break out in hives, or if my eyes are going to swell up. So
wow.
I've had to readjust how I eat, and so now I eat meat from time to time because I can't have soy, and I miss meat.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people that didn't eat wheat before, so I try not to eat bread now. So I'm running out of foods. As I know. It's really difficult. Like, what do you eat? I eat a lot of salads and a lot of green vegetables, but sometimes you
need the protein too. Yeah.
And and I can't have nuts, and so if I can't have nuts, then what do I eat?
Wow. Wow.
Beans are really dangerous too. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it like carcinogens in them or something, or?
I'm not really sure. They're similar to like soybeans.
Okay.
I can't have soy, so beans and nuts are a problem, but beans can be a problem. It just depends.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm a vegetarian myself, and I do eat a fair amount of soy, and I've had the discussion about soy with a lot of people because I always hear different things about it, and especially with regard to women, but also with men. And I've heard from some people that they say the soy companies have a agenda and that it's really harmful to your brain and so forth. Do you think that the soy consumption was something that affected you in a negative way, or was that just something that you had to give up?
I definitely ate a lot of soy, so I couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of careers that I've been involved with. I mean, remember, I did makeup for almost 20 years, so they said it could have been doing makeup, the chemicals were around, being on sound stages. Some of the locations are actually harmful. Before that, I was a hairstylist, so I've always been around chemicals, and my cancer is caused by chemical exposure.
Oh, okay.
So the soy may have exasperated it, may have not helped it, but I don't know that that's what. I don't think that's what caused it, but they don't know.
It's hard to separate out everything and pick one thing. Yeah. Well, going back to the music, what role did music play in your childhood, and what do you most remember about its role in your growing up?
I was always a singer. Mm-hmm. Hold on one second. Let me turn the phone off. I was always a singer. I always knew I wanted to sing. I always knew that was my destiny. You know what I mean? Like, I was going to sing. I didn't, so I always sang in the choir at school, and, I did all of that. I did the choir, the assemblies, the whatever, the school band. I did all of that. So, I was a singer.
So were you playing instruments as well, or?
I played viola and violin in junior high and high school. I played piccolo at some point. I took guitar lessons. I've taken piano lessons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm one of those kids. I never mastered any of them,
mm-hmm.
but I played them enough to I played them enough.
So you could maybe pick out a melody on some of them.
Which has a lot to do with how I write.
Really?
Because I can hear absolutely everything.
I'm sure that adds a lot of dimensions to your writing.
It does. And then also, I trained in classical music, so I tend to hear those kind of chords.
Wow, that's really cool. Now, after you grew up and graduated from high school, you had your first record deal, and I know some fans of the funky 80s R&B sound have picked up on your work that way through the first album that you had out called Flash, which was recently issued on CD. Tell me your thoughts on that album, musically speaking, and about how you landed your first deal.
I don't actually remember how I got my record deal. This girl I went to high school with started answering the phone at a record at Bouvier Records, and she introduced me to the owner. And at that point in my life, for my age, I had an incredible range and an incredible, I have perfect pitch, one. So I had perfect pitch, I had great range, and at that point I could still sing all of Minnie Riperton's songs effortlessly. I can now because I don't practice, but
right.
At that point I was definitely quite amazing for my age.
Absolutely. It was a very impressive album vocally, for sure.
Yeah, so what I don't remember much about that. It was a very long time ago, and
I was just curious more what your thoughts were from a musical standpoint, because it's very different than what you're doing now, but it obviously has attracted some fans as well.